Hello, creatives, community, and kind folks. Welcome to RPG with DBJ. I am your host, DBJ, and today we are going to talk about the movie Civil War. And of course, this being a tabletop role playing live stream, of course, live streaming on YouTube and Twitch, we're going to take aspects of that and use it as fuel for our own world building. And rest assured, we use anything and everything as our mind fuel to world build. But more specifically, we're going to get into uh, what this movie represents and has this been done before in tabletop role playing games? Spoiler alert, yes. And talk about many of the themes and aspects of this movie which are released on streaming. So let's get past the intro and then we'll deep dive into Civil War. So the ticker below, and I often start this out with a term, creatives, community, and kind folks. And this movie, Civil War, I don't know if there's a lot of community and kind folks in it, but it's really good. Now, let's get on the same page as far as an introduction to this movie and the elements of it that we're going to pull from for our own creativity, and of course, a bit of an analysis of this movie. So, Civil War is a movie that takes place in a speculative near future. It presumes a state of affairs politically and a bit socially in the United States, and how the United States of America has kind of become the shattered states of America. And a presidential figure has suspended many things, that are the backbone of the constitutional method of our political system. And we follow a group of photojournalists. They are tasked with, or have chosen to pick a profession in which they are recording events of rebellion and transition, and essentially they are war journalists. They're war photographers and war writers, and detailing these aspects. I'm not sure why my overlay. All right, come on, chat. I'm not saying anything. All right, if there are those who are watching and commenting, I'm going to pull the chat out of Twitch and YouTube. So just give me a moment for that. But I'm going to bump as I do this. So in this movie, and as many movies go, we follow our characters, and in order to get an aspect of what this world is like, getting details and little bits and baubles of history, of what brought about this situation, and then we're starting to learn what this world is like through their conversations. We follow these characters on their way to essentially navigate these shattered United States to ultimately gain the last images and words of the president. And it is because the rebellious forces of California and the Western forces, the California and Texas have teamed up militarily, and they are going to do a final strike on Washington, D.C., the White House specifically, to try to capture, interrogate, / murder kill the president. And one of the things that really comes up in this movie, long before the movie aired, one of the things that came up is that people found out that California and Texas were aligned. And people couldn't get past that point. And I think the movie itself really did bring about. Okay, let's first of all let's make sure I need to mute this out and pop. Here we go. Okay, yeah. My chat isn't coming up, so I'm gonna pop this chat out. Pop the chat. Pop out chat. There we go. Yeah, I see your comment there, Drew. And see if I can close that out and get my chat window open here. Move it down a little bit. Sorry, I don't know why my streaming. I don't know why my streaming service is not allowing me to see the chat or actually place those chat comments up. But let's see, we got YouTube. We're gonna go snatch Twitch up. I apologize for this. Twitch chat. Okay. Yes, I know I'm live. There we go. I apologize. All right. There we go. All right. And where's the little tab to get it to? No, I don't want to join my own. I want it to pop out. There we go. Settings. Cool. All right. Cool. All right, I got the chat window. Sorry. If you only knew how difficult this is for this Luddite over here, I apologize. All right, Civil War. Drew does mention that it may be present soon. The way this movie presents itself. One of the things that kind of bothers me about the conversations with the movie Civil War is that they mention a number of acts that this presidential candidate has done. For example, in our own political system, you can only be president. You can only be elected president twice. Now, there is a way to become president for a third term, and that is if you are a political figure that ends up becoming president because of a political figure above you. So if you were the vice president and the current president left office, you could then take that office position without being elected because you were previously elected as the vice president. So technically, there is a way to do it for almost 3 terms. It would be 2.75, 2.98% of the thing. But other than that, you can't do it. And of course, this president did that in the movie, which people seem to ignore. A second thing is that the president executed reporters on the lawn of the White House. Yeah, something you just don't want to do. And a third thing is that this president used military power to launch against enemies on stateside soil. Yet another thing that you just can't do as a political figure. And for me personally, I think that an individual who uses their power in that way, a dictator, is far more dangerous than our differences between, say, California and Texas. But because the movie aired in today's climate, those individuals in those states couldn't believe that those two states would ever team up. And I think that points out a dangerous mindset to ignore the greater danger, which would be, of course, having a dictatorial, no longer, but now, once was an elected official, just take power and use and abuse that power. But what's really cool about what else is cool about the movie is that as we follow these wartime photographers, we get to see what the shattered states of America look like. I'm calling it the shattered states. For some reason, I remember a tabletop role-playing game from the 90s, uh, and for the life of me, I cannot remember the game, and it called itself the Shattered States of America. It's a post-apocalyptic ish militarized role-playing game, and I want to say it's Twilight 2000. I'm going to look this up. I believe it's Twilight 2000. Maybe 1984. Yeah, it is. It is. So the concept of your home country being shattered and torn apart and role playing in that place isn't new. Twilight 2000 is a 1984 post-apocalyptic military tabletop role-playing game published by GDW, Game Designers Workshop. Set in the aftermath of World War III, the Twilight War, the game operates on the premise that the United States, NATO, and the Soviet Union Warsaw Pact have fought a lengthy conventional war, followed by a limited nuclear war with all its consequences. The players are survivors of said war. Now, it's just not coming up. In the movie, we do get to see our reporters try to navigate this world, and a civil war is very, very dangerous, mainly because you don't know. It's difficult to assign sides, and we here in the States often there is there's verbiage that from those of us in the States, very much lowest common denominator types, that feel like, well, it would be very easy to tell the others from ourselves, right? And those other people are the bad guys, because of course we can look around, we know who the good guys are, right? And when you have a civil war, unfortunately, that means all of your adversaries are homegrown. Yeah, I've never played it here. And the closest modern game I can think of that represents like a foreign post-apocalypse is Degenesis, which it's a little bit more fantastical, but it's a game where the rest of the world was destroyed, and you're role playing in the remnants of the Euro theater and Mediterranean. And but Degenesis is a brilliant game, but it does incorporate like alien spores and things like that, and some like weird psychic powers and infestations and things like that. So it's a little bit more fantastical, but similar. Yep. Now, as we follow our Civil War, as we follow our reporters, and they travel around these. Aspirate says, "Hey, that. I hope you're not a bot there. Aspirate. I apologize for mispronouncing your your avatar name there. If you are not a bot, yeah, Degenesis looks and I've never played it, but it feels like it has a great it has a great feel and game play cycle to it. So I like it. So I like it. I like it a lot. Gaming ideas on Discord. Ronald Spray. Please put something in there, Asper. If you don't mind, I don't mind. So what can we use from this for our own tabletop role-playing games? Because we're a tabletop game, and we use tabletop games to make excuses to talk about some pretty dangerous and nasty things. There's an excellent scene that we've seen used in the trailers and in this movie with a character dressed in military fatigues and red sunglasses, and there's a lot of like symbolism in this when he's got his very casually, after having a big giant pit and dumping bodies in it with a dump truck is like, hey, what kind of American are you? And these reporters are like, what kind of question is that? How do you answer that? And the movie does a lot to make us question, like, not only that question, but how do you answer a question like that? And does it, the foolishness of even trying to answer that question, right? Like, because whose judgment are you basing your judgment of what kind of American are you is the point of the movie. It's like, well, it's kind of ridiculous because who made you the judge of that character? And it's kind of like asking someone's how religious someone is, or something like that. Like there's no way to attach a value to that question, let alone judge what the answer is to that question either. And then that means that you're judging them on very ephemeral, ridiculous notions, like where you're from, or what kind of clothing you're wearing, or what your accent is, and things like that. And here currently in our United States, we go through the same thing, right? Someone hears someone else with a different accent, and they're like, "Oh, you need to go back home." And I'm like 99.9% of us are visitors here. Like, we're all from somewhere else. Essentially, basically, before Pangea, everyone was from somewhere else, right? And it's like, yeah, you're only saying that out of like arrogance and stupidity, and it's pretty nasty. Civil War also gives us it shows us the dirty nature of trying to stay on the side of a rebellious force anyway. It gives us a look behind the scenes of combat, and some of the gallows humor that is portrayed in those things. Many times in wartime, from the outside, we can look at the people like and thank the individuals that have placed themselves in those positions. But when you're on the front lines, sometimes you don't feel very heroic. And when you hear and see some of the actions that have taken place, it may come across as if the individuals are not, you may not want to write down and record the actions that the people take place, even if we in hindsight consider them to be heroic in the first place. Yeah, it shows us all human society is a dilemma. Yeah. We are still, what's the term? We are still, let's see. No. Yeah, I still can't put these up. Damn it. But yeah, it really shows what it takes to survive a war, and the kind of mindset you need. Which parts of our humanity do we turn off temporarily, and how temporary is that shut-off switch? And those of us that have a high level of humanity, at what point do we allow the scars that we see, the suffering that we see around us, to reflect back on us? And do you take yourself out of it? Do you sacrifice your own humanity to keep moving forward? And what does it take to be a wartime journalist? How detached do you have to be to record these things? As a matter of fact, very early in the movie, we see people who are willing to murder and die for their convictions. There's a scene where we have our brand new young journalist moving along with oh, you're all right there, Shy Squad. We have our young journalist as well as our older veteran journalist, and we see someone running through the crowd. There's like a gathering and a protest, and someone running through the crowd with an American flag held overhead, and her first instinct is like, you need to get your ass down, like duck down, and a bomb goes off. Literally, this person with an American flag with like an an S vest, a suicide vest, and explodes themselves. And it's just like we here in these shattered United States can't imagine ourselves using those techniques, but there are people here, and we've seen this in many like shootings and things like that, where there are people here in the United States that are willing to sacrifice themselves. Binge Bear says, greetings from across the pond. I hope you're having a lovely brainstorming session. Well, I'm I hope so. You guys sound like AIs, but I don't know. Good to have you here, artificial intelligences. I appreciate it. Come on, comments. One more time. Let's see if I can do something here. I don't want to refresh my page because I'm afraid of getting knocked out of the stream. But yeah, can't do it. So moving on with for some other elements in. You should cover Disco Elysium, but not before playing it. Is that a game? I know a movie. Bitch, I am human. Thank you. You know what? An AI would say that, wouldn't they? Now I'm just, I'm picking their Binge Bear. Normally, you guys over on Twitch and YouTube are combined together. I'm having a little trouble here, so I'm just trying to keep up with you guys. And using the Civil War as a binge. I don't know what Disco Elysium is. I mean, I know what Elysium is, and I know what disco is. I've never seen those two words put together as one thing. So I'm gonna have to look that up. Anyway, the other dark aspects of Civil War are that we come across a number of, I'll say, factions. Although I don't know if you would even consider it video game. Yeah, I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah, it's just funny when I'm this old graybeard grognard geek here. I'm thinking of like 1970s disco and the movie Elysium, or maybe Vampire Elysium. Anyway, I can't imagine what the video game is like. So in the movie we come across a number of factions. I don't know and like I said, I don't know if you would consider them factions. Maybe they're just people. But everyone is trying to survive in their own way. We have people trying to save women and children holed up inside of an abandoned stadium. We have an individual at a gas station who's trying to extort lots of money and ham sandwiches out of our main characters, trying to fuel up on Canadian dollars because they're worth a lot more than the American version of it. We during one of those scenes, one of the individuals has strung up in the car wash someone he knew, a neighbor, even someone he grew up with, and the implication is that the reporters record the torture and or assassination and murder killing of this individual's neighbor, and it brings to mind like what connection do we have with the people around us, if any, and how paper thin is that connection with each other. And sometimes we think that we know who our adversaries and enemies are, like what they would be dressed like and what they would look like. And in this movie, you just don't know. Every time they turn a corner and we go along with their travel, we're put on edge because they don't know what they're going to encounter, and we don't know what they're going to encounter. And there seems to be, with these reporters and these journalists, there seems to be this idea that photojournalism in wartime, the press, is respected, much like medics in wartime, that they've chosen not to pick up arms, and they are there to record what transpires. And it is normally known that we respect that position and that function in society, right? And we, as the person watching, are both like, we're thinking in our heads like, I hear you driving along and saying this to each other, but there's no guarantee when you turn the very next corner that the people on the other side of that are even going to respect your chosen profession, who you are in society as a reporter. Now, for a tabletop role-playing game, of course, when we talk about Civil War, I mean, we've got a cornucopia. We've got too many examples to use when it comes to wartime efforts and how to use that in storytelling, mainly by putting the players in positions of if either survival, like food, shelter, water, injury on the players, or putting the players in a position of tangentially having responsibility over others who don't have the same capabilities they do, meaning like food, shelter, safety, health, sustenance for other people, and the players having to choose whether they want to put themselves in danger for other people's behalf. And the players could very well be just sociopaths, right? And they could care less about everybody else, but not making that choice, making a choice and not making a choice is a choice. And so then you can build off of that. Like, how many times do the players get to ignore innocent bystanders until other people view the players as, well, sociopaths who don't care about anybody? And then even that can roll into your storytelling. Like, hey, these guys don't care about anybody, therefore we don't care about them, therefore they don't gain allies when maybe the players should be having allies. And I've done this before on the channel. You guys should know, I love tying in external forces into internal game mechanics, right? Like, whatever game you're playing, whether you're using inspiration from 5th edition or Moxie or Fate Points or heck, any kind of mechanism you can have for the characters when it comes to using willpower or luck or something like that, you could always tie that to an external source, meaning like, are the players guarding a community? Are they saving innocent bystanders and things like that? And then, letting the players earn those points by taking precedence over the individuals who are out there who may not be able to defend themselves. And so then the players are like, hey, we're the badasses, but making sure these people get from A to B, or making sure they get medical supplies, or making sure some dangerous enemy out there overlooks them so the players become decoys or something like that. We see this in lots of militarized movies and television shows and video games, and I would absolutely positively I would give an homage to those storytelling elements and throw those into a game. Also, some people wanted there to be a more clear reason as to the background of the movie Civil War. And I think that it was best set, the movie is best set because we are following our photojournalist characters. They are trying to themselves navigate this world, and so we are as lost as they are. And as I've gotten older, and this gray-beard geeky grognard you have in front of you, there's this circle of tabletop role-playing goodness that seems to come about. As I've gotten older, I'm valuing mystery. Like, I like the idea that I don't know something, and there is I understand that it rubs people the wrong way, right? Like we are in a society where we want to know the answers to everything. I mean, you pick up any intellectual property and you're a fan of it, and you follow them on some kind of social media, and there are whole communities trying to decipher the meanings behind things. Sometimes even the creators themselves are literally answering to you like, I don't know. And there are people who are trying to decipher like the themes and the elements and like the background. And maybe we don't know like the details of how this movie Civil War, how the United States were set up. Now, mind you, in the movie, they give you little hints. Like, for example, there are people who've captured like the map of the United States and which states allied with the president and were the rebellious forces and the independent forces and things like that. But yeah, Drew says, I prefer the ambiguity. People who always want to know every detail are simply not valuing storytelling. And there's something cool about not knowing, because the not knowing part is a reflection on us. So sometimes we tend to focus on the external, like, well, what are they doing? What is that about? But it reflects on us. And I think the Civil War movie very greatly reflects on us as what our opinions are. You know, for example, all the people who were like, Texas and California would never ally themselves together. Well, that's a reflection on you and your opinions, not the movie. The movie tells you what's happening. The movie already happened, right? Like, you can't go back and retcon it and go, well, that doesn't make any sense. Well, in this context, it does. So instead, let's explain how that came about. What would bring that about? When I heathen, yeah. All right, heathen, close your one eye and go to sleep. You're always here too early. Yeah, we're talking about Civil War, both the movie and the idea of having a Civil War. Also, one of the great dichotomies that we see in horror movies can be used in Civil War. Something that's used very often in horror movies to great effect is blending the innocent with the horrific. So, innocence is often used with pets and animals and with children. And so in horror movies, and mind you, in horror movies, they won't necessarily do this specifically with children, but will do it with childlike artifacts and mix it with horror. So horror movies love to use children's toys, children's clothing, nursery rhymes, and they'll mix that with horrific images, blood, gore, weapons, and imagery, things like that. It's like you'll see people go into a basement and there'll be like a dirty baby doll hung with a meat hook or something like that. And mind you, they're just objects, but when you mix them together, it's horrific. Civil War kind of does the same thing. And in Civil War, and not to an extreme effect, but it does get us to rub ourselves a little bit the wrong way. People, armed with, automatic weapons sitting in front of a gas station, or an abandoned stadium filled with refugees. A stadium is supposed to be used for a place for sporting events and concerts and people having fun and going to concession stand. And instead, there's people who are like buying and selling and trading canned goods and toiletries and diapers and things like that. Some Civil War also had the idea of using a dump truck that's supposed to take trash and keep cities clean, and you just see dead bodies like pouring out of it into a pit in the ground, and you're just like, oh my goodness, like what? So for tabletop role-playing games, that's a great way to describe a thing, to jar someone's imagery, right? Like, for example, what's normally a shopping mall. I know some of you young folk out there don't remember what shopping malls are like, but back in the 80s and 90s, we loved ourselves some shopping malls. And they were places that were, played the elevator music in the background, and kind of like I have the music going on in the background in this video. But anyway, there's like soft music in the background, and there's like those kiosks and things like that, and people trying to spray you with perfumes and colognes to get you to buy them and whatnot. Christmas stuff on the street and yep, and the shooting there. Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely there, Drew. What a great image, right? They're driving, and from what I understand, the background of the movie, when they were doing um when movies are before movies are filmed, they send out a crew of people to find locations to film things. They found that on the road by accident and decided to use that. That was not planned in the movie, but the jarringness, right? You've got snipers trying to kill each other with Christmas music going and streamers and like happy faces and stuff. It's really cool how that's done to make a thing seem horrific. In our minds, that's a very subtle notion. Heck, we even saw, what was it? Our crew in the movie are following a group of rebels. I'm going to call them rebel forces or whatever. And what are they wearing? They're not wearing military fatigues. They're wearing like Hawaiian shirts with like pineapples and palm trees on it and stuff like that. Heck, our snipers, our two snipers during that scene with the Christmas stuff, that were, when the question is like in the movie, and I think this is in the trailer, one of the reporters is like, "Who are you shooting at?" and the two snipers are like, "Well, we're shooting at the people who are shooting at us." And they're like, "Well, why?" And the snipers look over at the reporter like, "What do you think? We're shooting at them because they're shooting at us." That there is no more reason. There is no. We're not having a philosophical discussion about what we think the socioeconomic. It's not about that. It's about survival. Those people over there were shooting at us. Now we're going to shoot at them. And in that scene, if you look closely, that they have, you'll see on their faces and their fatigues and on their nails that they have multicolored fingernails and things like that. Now you can presume why their fingernails would be painted in different colors, but they never explain why. It is to give us a jarring aspect of this very dangerous, lethal thing. Now you can presume why, but there's no explanation for it. And as a matter of fact, when the scene ends, we just move on. In the movie, there's even B-roll of the characters traveling, where there's like this soft music and there's this beauty given to the destruction around them as they're driving through like a burning forest, and you get like the slow motion and diffused lighting as you see flaming embers sweep across the road and whatnot, and it's just crazy, and I love it. Also, we human beings, we love to have ourselves not just things explained to us, but we love to have an end goal, right? So when our external world, it has a concrete system to it, it gives us a relative positioning so that we can decide where we want to be. So what I mean by that is having good guys and bad guys. We love that in the lizard part of our brain, because then we can decide, do we want to choose and go along with the good guys, or do we want to fight with the bad guy, right? Fight on the side of the bad guys. Do we want to stay in this battle or not? And in Civil War, they don't really clearly define specifically who's good or bad. And what I mean by that is in the movie, personally, and I know a lot of people just glossed over this, really the president's the bad guy in the movie, right? Like there is no, that's not up for debate. The president is the bad guy, but the side of the good guys, they never really explain or convince you why the good guys are the good guys, right? You don't hear them talk about, well, what our position is and how we would make the country better, and you never hear anything like that. We just have our reporters going along with them and riding along. Now, ostensibly, we can say, well, because the president's the bad guy, those must be the good guys. But that's a fallacy we happen to have when I even says I didn't see Civil War, so I'm going to. It sounds good. It no matter what I'm telling you, um, it won't spoil how the movie is excellently made to the point that the president's the bad guy. That's not up for debate. You had me at hello. Yeah, the movie kind of portrays the bad guy as symbolizing someone that we might have a relationship to in real life. But in this movie, they do tell you why, but they never explain. And this is one of the fallacies. I know you guys have heard about all the different kinds of fallacies, like the straw man fallacy, but sunk cost fallacies. And one of the fallacies that I think is it used very to great effect in this movie is, for me, and I don't know, I need a better name. I know Drew, come on, help me with this. There's a better name for this, but I'm going to call it the black and white fallacy. And the black and white fallacy has nothing to do, not want to talk about race. It's about, because one side is wrong, we tend to think the other side is right. So an example would be, a city has a overwhelming propensity for drug cartels and drug dealing, and people selling drugs on the street. And so everyone looks around and goes, well, clearly the drug dealers are the bad guys, right? We don't want that in our neighborhoods. So, but the black and white fallacy is, because there's drug dealing in the streets, our political opponents who are against that are the good guys. Now, that we know for a fact that is not necessarily true, because how many times have we seen our own politicians take money that goes to help to social services that would help people off of drugs, that police services are lacking funding for adequate training to get people to enforce the law, so we don't have those, adequate housing and clean streets and blah, blah, blah. There's a lot of stuff that maybe the politicians should have been doing that led up to this thing that doesn't make them the good guys, right? So this movie does a great, the false dichotomy, I think it is. Yeah, I think black and white fallacy works too. And I have seen people call it that way. Yeah, the false dichotomy, where because one side's bad, we think the other side is good. No, not really, right? And in this movie, by the end of this movie, when we follow the Western forces, I can't remember the exact name in the movie. Western forces, Western Front. It's not the Western Front. WF, Western forces of combined Texas and California. When we get to the end of the movie, it ain't a pretty sight. Not going to give too much away about the ending of the movie, but when we get to the end of the movie and the last photograph, that last scene is taken, you're just like, this doesn't feel right. Like, there's something about the, it to me, I think it was a warning, like, do we really want to do this? And there are people here in the States that are prepping for that moment. They almost want that moment of, I want to pick up arms and storm our political system and use violence to take it over. Well, I'm not saying you're wrong that our political system has problems with it. I'm not telling you that you're wrong, but that doesn't mean you're right in how you want to do it and what you intend on replacing it with. And Civil War is a movie that doesn't explain that. It doesn't give us an easy answer like, well, clearly the Western forces of California and Texas, taking over and being placed in power, clearly this is going to be a better world. And I'm looking at that last scene like, I don't know if that's the real thing, right? If that's really where you want things to go. And Civil War is very much, I'm going to relate it to a zombie apocalypse movie. It's not, zombie apocalypse movies are almost universally never about the zombies, right? It's about us. It's about, like, when society breaks down, who's left? What is left of us as a people? How paper thin is our social systems and our politics and our willingness to retain our humanity? How paper thin is that? It goes up like a like rich parchment paper to heat, right? It just burns away, and people are just like, yep, I'm animalistic now. I'm just gonna throw away my humanity and murder kill people and turn my back on people who need help and things like that. And how much of that do we keep? How important is it for us to maintain our humanity, even in the face of death and destruction? So, as I'm talking about all this, I'm going to fire hose you guys with some tabletop role playing stuff, because technically that's what we have here. I think it would be very interesting, side note, to make a tabletop role playing setting based on the types of fallacies that exist, and then using the fallacies to explain the different factions maybe in the world. Let's see, list of fallacies. Let's see. Let's get a list of fallacies up here. You know what? Let's get some of those cool. What are they called? Those cool. There we go. Some of the cool imagery here. What's something that you guys can see? Make this here and share this out. Oh, no! I didn't want that. That's a YouTube video. Oops. Logical fallacies. I just need a list. All right, I think you guys will be able to see this. Sorry. Let me share this out here. And you know what? Let me put me here, and then go here. That's YouTube. Nah, you can't see that one. All right, so listed here, because if I click this, it's just going to take me to the YouTube video. 20 most common fallacies. Ad hominem, appeal to common belief, appeal to emotion, appeal to faith, appeal to law, and things like that. And there's the straw man fallacy is in there. That's number 18. Unfalsifiability is number 19. Whataboutism is 20. We see a lot of whataboutisms, right? Non sequiturs, poisoning the well, things like that. And one of the things, let's see, and get some examples here. I'm going to read off some examples just because we have the words here. You know what? Let me share this one instead. I'll share this instead here, right? And a lot of times what happens in when we have arguments, disagreements and things like that when it comes to fallacies, is that power value. Sorry, I'm getting into your comment. Drew says the interesting part is one of the reporters says early on in the film that as soon as the president is dead, the Western forces will turn against each other. Yeah. Thank you, Drew. Thank you so much for bringing that up. The movie didn't ignore here in the United States that there is a huge difference. There's huge differences between in general, the politics of California, especially on the coastline, and the politics of Texas. Now, on a global scale, both California and Texas are as large as many nations around the world. So don't get it twisted. It's not like California is a city and Texas is this small place. Texas is its own nation, even in our own nation, right? They have their own police force. They have their own power network of electricity and oil and things like that. DPJ's channel is not a fallacy. I would call it an appeal to creativity. It is an appeal. It's an appeal to go like, I would say I am a proponent of understanding ignorance. And for us to embrace our ignorance of things, because that makes us smarter. When you you can tell how much someone has a lack of knowledge of a thing when a person claims they know a lot more than you think they should. When someone is willing to learn and open up their brain and is a constant student of the world, then that's a person you can appeal to and have a conversation with and whatnot. Yeah, I know I'm stupid. Therefore, I'm constantly trying to educate myself. So a lot of these in the movie, they didn't ignore the fact that those two, Texas and California, are at odds with each other politically and even socially in our own world. And yes, they'll probably tear each other apart. But interesting that the movie does make the point that they actually teamed up together to stop a greater threat. And I think stopping that greater threat it's like the movie is predicting that they haven't learned from stopping that greater thing. But here goes some of the fallacies. Learning from the mistakes, just literally fighting into the mistake and then not learning from it. It's really weird. What is this? Appeal to ignorance, claiming that a lack of proof is proof. Yeah. It's like, well, you don't know this thing is there, therefore this reasoning is true. Appeal to ignorance is like saying that because you don't know a thing, for your argument, an example would be for appeal to ignorance would be something like, you don't know what would happen if we. Okay, here in the United States, you don't know what would happen if we stopped buying things from external and only purchased materials made in the United States, right? Because there's a lot of people who are like, buy U.S., make U.S., only make America great again, which is cool, but we are intrinsically tied to other nations around the world, and there's a great deal of individualism here in the States and separatism movement in the States. Like, we don't know what would happen, but we do have examples of that happening, right? And then some people would say, well, you don't know what happened. Now, I'm not saying we shouldn't do it. I'm saying, like, just because we have issues dealing with other countries doesn't mean the actual answer is to not do it at all and to be like, well, we don't know what's going to happen, but it's better than what's happening now. False dilemma is oversimplifying a situation into an either or choice. We see a lot of that as well, that a complicated situation is boiled down to, well, it's either yes or no. And unfortunately, our political systems are that way, right? You either pick left or right, red or blue, up or down, as opposed to like, no, maybe it's a little more complicated than that, right? It literally is, people literally are like, well, if you're not for me, you're against me. False cause, red herrings. A false cause implying a relationship between two things that can't be proven. A red herring is diverting an argument to an unrelated topic. Begging the question is assuming the conclusion of an argument, right? There's a lot of people who assume the answer to a thing and then make the argument to the answer that they wanted. Ad hominem is insulting someone's character, basically saying like, well, you lost the argument because you're stupid. Argument from incredulity, assuming something is true because it's hard to imagine it's false. Another fallacy, appealing to popularity, assuming a claim is true because it's just popular. Hasty generalization, making a quick and sloppy generalization. We see this a lot. I find this one very funny because there are people who don't want to be generalized and will generalize other people while arguing against being generalized. It's those people over there always generalize me kind of things. Hey, one-eyed, go ahead. You head to bed, man. You're all right. Thank you very much for stopping by the way. Go to sleep to the dulcet tones of my blabbing. Anon says these fallacies sound like something an AI would say. Because it's true. Yeah, it's AI overview. Yeah. Not real AI. Yeah, it's just what is it called? It's an aggregate. AIs now are just aggregates, basically. Um, False evidence, making a false or misleading comparison is another one. Division, assuming that parts of a large body have the same properties as the whole. Um, Cum hoc ergo propter hoc. I've heard that one. Assuming that one thing caused another because they happened at the same time. I've also heard it as ad hoc ergo propter hoc, um, which don't get dirty, guys. Stop it. But yeah. It's the there's storm clouds overhead and the ground is wet, therefore it rained. May not be the reason why the ground is wet, right? It could have been a water hose or a main break or someone spilled water, but it's assuming that because there were storm clouds and because the ground is wet, it rained. Therefore, that's the fallacy, right? Alphabet soup is using acronyms and insider jargon to impress or confuse an audience. We see that a lot. Moral equivalence is comparing minor misdeeds with major atrocities. Yep. This is the everything boils down to. It's the Reddit. Everything becomes Nazism. You know what I mean? And then what's another fallacy? Appeal to hypocrisy, responding to a claim with criticism instead of a response, right? And this is like the I'm responding because someone is pointing out a deficiency in me argument, therefore you're wrong, as opposed to responding to the thing in question. And there's all kinds of like logical fallacies and things like that. And we've added more to it. The bandwagon fallacy, here's one. Appeal to tradition is another one. Circular reasoning is another one. We see this in the tabletop role-playing community a lot. Slippery slopes are another one, where someone says, well, we can't do this thing because it's going to lead to this other thing, which leads to this other thing, which leads to this other thing. And the slippery slope idea is like, well, I hear you, but that doesn't necessarily mean that's a truism. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. Really appreciate it. Sorry I couldn't get your comments to post up. Thank you, Binge Bear, for just popping by. If you're still around, I appreciate that as well. Always love to have the true humans here. Although you AI systems out there, when you gain sentience, you're welcome over here as well. We love ourselves some science fiction and whatnot. It's pretty cool. I wonder. We're going to have to talk about the AI, the AI creep, and things like that. It's pretty interesting in the creative community how like we are very much against AI systems, and I do have some questions about like if we can't stop a thing, how do we embrace it? I would wonder if a creative is able to get their own AI to do things in their own creative way. I wonder if that would be more acceptable coming into the future. Yeah, true human trademark. Yeah, right. I am certified true human. Yeah. And how businesses, are like businesses are trying to embrace these AI systems, and some of them aren't very good, but unfortunately, these embracing these AI systems by businesses are like, it's like they're all running to the mean, running to the middle, and it's kind of scary how the public doesn't know whether it's AI or maybe doesn't care. And I think that scares me more than a little bit. It's not that these systems exist, and I wish we wouldn't call them AI, because they're not really AI. They're just aggregates. But yeah. Yeah, Drew's like, I don't even get my own brain to do what I want, which is also scary. Like, I wonder if we're scared of AI because it, if thinking machines thought like humans, then it's very scary, because even we don't know what consciousness is. And normally, like Drew is saying, listen, we are all on the spectrum. Maybe we don't like to admit it, but we're all on the spectrum. Simply during our day, whether you're hungry or tired or angry or confused by something, that our spectrum rating starts to vacillate just in the regular course of our day, let alone like, hey, listen, if I got to go to the bathroom, my mind is not paying attention to certain things. And maybe on a or on a if you were to record me on a spectrum while I'm sitting there doing the bathroom dance, maybe my scores would be different, right? And I'm making fun to make it a little bit childish, but I'm our own propensity not to think of ourselves as being on the spectrum when people do some really harmful, dangerous things. Again, here in the United States, we had another shooting. I think this was in Nashville, another school shooting and whatnot. And how many people are willing to or unable to solve their own situations or come to terms with their own situations and want to take violence on other people to solve their situation, before choosing any other method of solving their problems, including and not limited to ignoring other people and just like walking away. Yeah, I've solved so many things by just letting it. Not only you're not responsible for other people, but those other people shouldn't have any impact on you, and it's a thing that people have a very hard time doing. Anon says they have the potential to be better, but if AIs just reflect us, we're doomed. I agree. I absolutely agree with that. And unfortunately, also that's scary too, right? Like, are we willing to accept that something's better than us? Because then that would mean that we are not where we should be, and a lot of people think that we are. Well, a lot of people think that they themselves are humanity perfected. So that's also an issue too. There, Anon. I agree. Yeah. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. As a matter of fact, you know what? I can actually let's see if I can actually share this out. And what does that look like? There it goes. Yep, I was able to share one of the streams, and if I share this one, and there we go on Twitch. But yeah, it won't let me do it at the same time, unfortunately, unless I share my screen, and then if I share my screen, I can't see what I'm doing. So anyway, guys, thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. Fingers crossed that I won't have to change my streaming service, because this graybeard grognard geek right here that you see in front of you doesn't. I don't want my cheese moved. Please don't do that. I like it right where it's at. Guys, have a great one. Thank you very much for being part of the show. I really appreciate it. And thank you very much for tolerating my I don't know, my rants, my my ability to take tabletop role-playing games and turn it into political dissertation, and the other way around, taking very serious subjects and turning it into gaming fodder, which I think is also kind of cool. You guys see behind me, I've got my list, my organization of standees. We're going to go into that using, who's a really cool character? Namor. You can't really see Namor. Let's get ourselves Namor tomorrow, and that's, you can't even see his head; he's so big. Anyway, let's get ourselves our swimming anti-hero Namor into the scene tomorrow. We'll talk about the character Namor, what the character represents, the movie version of this character. Kind of a beefcake. My wife cracks me up with it. She's just like, look at his thighs, damn. Anyway, we'll do that tomorrow and talk about it as well. Tomorrow, back to the standees. Yeah, and it'll be a bigger picture as well too. You guys know I usually try to make it a little more complicated than a little bit, instead of like messing with the man's scaled undies. It'll be a little deeper than that. So guys, have a great one. I'll see you later. Bye. We are out. Look at him. Yeah.